All right, so welcome. I am Mike Blum, and we are here to talk about um, how to have conversations with your students about AI in your courses. And we have a really nice exercise that you can use with your courses, that you can use in your courses. You can either do this um, manually with index cards, or you can do it the way that I'm going to do it with you all today, which is using uh, Poll Everywhere, and either one is going to be effective. And I'll talk a little bit about the exercise and a little bit about what it is that you'll be able to gain from it. I'll remind you that we're going to have, if people want to stick around after the session, we're going to have a 30-minute workshop session that you could stay around and implement what it is that we talked about today, or if you have questions, we'd be happy to answer questions. So before we get started, I have a question for y'all. So right now, I'm wondering if you have a good way to have a productive conversation with students about AI in the classroom. So we're going to be using Poll Everywhere for most of today. So if you want to, you can either use the QR code up at the top right of your window with your phone, and you can participate on your phone, or you can just go to pollev.com/STLI and you can vote on your web browser. So you can open up a web browser and you can pop that in there. So I'll give folks a chance to access the site. You can register if you want, you can put in your name, or you can do it totally anonymously, however you'd like to do it. So I'll give folks a moment to think about it. We're using the confidence map that you may have seen if you participated in our professional development days. So the idea is, um, where are you? Is talking about Poll Everywhere. Oh, I was talking about generative AI causing you stress. You're nervous about learning it, but you feel like you need to use it. You'd be in the stress center. If you are ready to learn it and eager to implement it, you'd be on the launch pad. If you already know it, but you have no opportunity to implement it, then you'd be in the passenger seat. And if you're already using AI and you've got productive ways to have those conversations with students, you'd be in the comfort zone. And we're looking forward to all of you, whichever zone you're in to participate today and to share your opinions. And I'm going to show you a really nice way that will just be another tool in your toolkit, even if you're in the comfort zone of having those conversations with your students. So I'll give people about a minute to answer that question. And if you want, I've got my colleague Pablo here. Pablo Yanez is going to be manning the chat. So if you've got questions and you want to put it in the chat, Pablo will be available to answer your questions. So it looks like we've got 7 votes already. That's great. And I'll be showing everyone where people stand. And then at the end, I'll throw up this same poll, but we'll see if we've moved the needle any at the end and if people have changed their opinion. Maybe you thought you were comfortable and now you're feeling stressed about it. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully you're going to be moving from being more stressed to being more comfortable after we talk about this. And yeah, Pablo's reminding me to make sure to keep Poll Everywhere open since we're going to continue to use it for this exercise.
And folks, it sounds like we've got a bit of weather outside. Should power go out, Mike and I will be logging back in as soon as we can. So try us back should we get disconnected.
Okay, well, let's take a look at where people stand right now, and we'll take a look at the responses. And so some people feel like they want to use it. Most people feel like they want to use it and they're eager to implement it. They just need the tools. That's great. We've got a few people who are kind of stressed out over it, that's also good. Hopefully we will be able to give you some tools that you can allay some of those fears. And we've got somebody in the comfort zone, so that's great. Hopefully we'll be able to hear what they're doing and give us some other ideas about how they are having those conversations. So let's go ahead and get started. So, talking about generative AI, there are many ways to do it in your class. The exercise that we're going to be talking about today, I learned at the most recent CHEP conference, and I have supplied the original slides from the presenter at the end of this presentation that you can have access to, and you can see how they used this exercise. But it's called Red Card, Green Card. It's a conversation starter to help you and students share your attitudes and beliefs about the use of generative AI in the classroom. So why does it matter? By having a community discussion about generative AI, you can help your students understand its complexities. I feel like it's important, and here at STLI, we think it's important to have group conversations to help reinforce class norms and help level the playing field, rather than just have faculty members, impose a one-size-fits-all policy. You may want to think about some of the gradations, some of the shades of gray, right? So, for example, if you take a look at one side of the spectrum, using AI to help students do their work, I don't think anyone here, or maybe some people, would object to the idea of students using a spell checker. That might be all the way on one side. On the other side of the spectrum, it would be probably most of us would think it's wrong for a student to put a prompt into ChatGPT, find that prompt and put it in to their essay and say that this is their own work. So somewhere between those things, we've got a lot of gray, and to have those conversations with students is not going to necessarily prevent them from using ChatGPT or other AI tools, but hopefully they will see what others are doing and it will be a guide for them, and you'll be able to have those conversations, those really better conversations about how to use it. And how do you do it? So concept of red card, green card is really easy, and you can implement it in a bunch of different ways. Today, I'm going to show you two ways to do it. I'm going to show you how I've had it work in a classroom, a live classroom with index cards, and then we're going to try it out using Poll Everywhere. And the Poll Everywhere poll that we're going to play with today, I'm also going to give you access to it. So if you wanted to try this Poll Everywhere in your own classes, you'll have access to implement it if you wanted to try it, but it's really easy to do it as an analog exercise. So here's how we do it. Here's how it's been done for me, and I found it really compelling. We were at a conference, and the presenter handed out index cards. On one side of the index card, we were supposed to write an example of using AI in education that we thought was either okay or not okay. And in general, the example should be close to the line between what we consider to be okay and not okay, not all the way over to this is obviously okay to use, or this is obviously not okay to use. And that's on one side of the index card. On the back, declare your opinion. So you'd ask the students to say, is this okay or not okay? And the students can write their names or not. It's encouraged to write your name. You don't want to call anyone out, but you might want to ask them to support their perspective. So if you're doing it in a particular course, which you'd probably be doing, stress that context is important. What's okay in a freshman seminar may look different than what would be okay if a student were writing their master's thesis, right? So just keep that in mind, and you want to mention that to the students that it is contextual. So what they might write here will change over time. And then cards. So if you've got a couple of pieces of colored paper, you can cut them up into green paper and red paper, the okay paper and the not okay paper, right? And so you'd collect all these cards, and So the students would fill out the index cards. Maybe you'd send them home with the index cards if you didn't want to take up too much time in class. And you'd collect those cards at the beginning of class, and then you could read them out. And you'd ask students, okay, not okay. And then the students would hold up their card and you'd see what the temperature of the room was. Are there mainly green cards or are there mainly red cards? And then if the student identified themselves on the back of the card, you could say, okay, we have here, this student said it was okay. And now be prepared to explain your position. And that's where the conversation comes in. You could do a few of these in a 15-minute segment of your class. You could choose to do one every day. So you could say, okay, let's talk about AI. What's okay, what's not okay? What does everyone think? So you can incorporate that into the class. Okay, well then let's get started. If everyone has their poll everywhere up, let's go ahead and do the first one. So here we go. Having an AI tool reduce words of a draft that you've written to meet a word limitation. So take a minute and say, is that okay or is that not okay? All right, we have a healthy number of answers. We've got 11 responses. So let's take a look at what people said. So 8 said it's okay, 3 said it's not okay. Very interesting. So since the 3 are in the minority, I'm wondering if anyone who said it's not okay would like to share what their perspective was on why it wasn't okay. You don't have to, but if anyone wants to unmute themselves and kind of give their opinion, it'd be interesting to hear so we can kind of emulate what it might look like in your classroom when you're doing this exercise.
Hello, I said it was not okay.
Hi, Sarah. Why?
Um, I think it's an important writing skill that students would need to gain in my class as it's a writing class.
Perfect. So that's something that in your particular class, you could have that discussion and say, this is in this class, under these circumstances, it's not okay. And that's a way to set boundaries and to create norms in that particular class. Can we hear from someone who said it was okay?
I'll throw in my opinion.
Great, Kirsten.
So I said it was okay because the way I look at the use of AI as being most useful is to enhance skills that we already have. And so in this case, the students have already written the draft. They're using the AI to then try to, fit the limitations of the assignment, which I think doesn't necessarily take away from the skills that they learned in writing the draft.
I love that. And that's fantastic. And if those boundaries are set for each class, then it's a lot clearer for students. And when they see that their colleagues are going to be following those same rules, it really alleviates lots of the tension and the difficulty surrounding what's okay and not okay in AI. So let's go to the next one. Using an AI tool as a resource while taking a test or a quiz online. Okay, let's see what people think. Oh, so this is pretty clear. Everyone thinks that this is not okay. All right, so this one's easy. I don't think anyone needs to talk about it because it's pretty straightforward. And so if this happens in your class, then it's really easy for you to say, all right, everyone's in agreement. This is not cool. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Using AI to brainstorm possible starting points for a line of inquiry, study, or area of research. All right, so let's take a look at this one. Oh, all right. So this one is interesting. We've got 8 people say this is perfectly fine. 3 people say no. Let's hear from one of the okays first. Who thinks that this is okay and why?
I can jump in, I guess.
Thanks, Megan.
Sure. I guess I think about this and it depends on the parameters that are set up for whatever the assignment is. So I could sort of go either way sometimes on some of these. But I guess for this, I was thinking it's okay because I think sometimes it's a good starting point that sometimes that can hold students up to getting started on something. And certainly using that as a starting point could be really helpful to get things moving forward. And so in this case, I think as long as it's not the only way by which you're creating study or research, that it's a good starting point to kind of tip yourself forward and get momentum.
Yeah, nice. Anybody have a not okay perspective that they want to share?
Yeah, Mike, I mean, I can. This might be a disciplinary thing, but in English, I think our starting point is always your idea,
Right.
right? It's, it's what you think. And so the idea that you would start from somewhere else, I think I would be more okay with probably them using AI tools somewhere further down the line.
Yeah, that's great. And having those parameters and that understanding is really great. So what I suggest is, while it's great to have students offer their own perspectives and write the questions, what you might want to do before you do that is exactly what I'm doing here, where I come up with some perspectives that are key to my discipline. And I have a very specific concept that I want to show the students and I want to talk about openly with the students. And I'd like to hear what they say before somebody else talks. And usually, if you've got, a fair amount of not okay and okay, and you can hear out what the students are saying, you might change your mind, first of all, which is always nice. But, the second thing is you can re-emphasize that the student who is saying, yeah, this is not okay, that's a discipline-specific thing. And in this course, I want students to gain certain skills, and that's why it's not okay in this course. So yeah, wonderful, differences of opinion here. So we'll do one more, and then we'll start something else. So this one's not that great. So let me choose a different one. Have ChatGPT write a first draft so this is for more of an upper level student, maybe writing a conference proposal. Have ChatGPT write a first draft of a conference proposal abstract. This might be something that some of us might want to do also, using the proposal narrative that you wrote entirely yourself. Who thinks that's okay? And you can see that this is kind of a very low pressure way, a fun way to get students thinking about logically not only what's acceptable, but then it gives you the opportunity as the instructor to say, here's why I'm not allowing you to do this in this class. Rather than saying that it's not acceptable, here are the reasons why I think that you're going to be better off in this class if you don't do this, or here's what I think you should be using it for. And that's a wonderful opportunity for you. So let's take a look and see what people said to this one. 8 said it's okay, 2 said it's not okay. Very interesting. I have done this before, so I have to say I would be in the okay. But then, it's the same thing. You can say why it's not okay with you, why you think it's okay. And it's especially hard if this is something that, I've done myself, that I wouldn't say that a student is not able to do it. There might be good reasons why I think that a student wouldn't be able to do it, but so let's jump to the last little piece of it. And you can see I have lots of these questions, and I'll share these with you so that you can see how you feel about it. But now here's that point where you'd give the students the opportunity, if you're doing a poll everywhere, to suggest questionable uses for AI for consideration. And if you want to type something in here, I can give you a minute or two to try something, and then we can all vote on it. If you've got a pressing question that you think, ooh, I'm not sure if this is right, or this is something I'm having trouble considering, you can just pop it in there, and then we can all take a look at it and think about it on the fly. All right, let's take a look at this first one. So by the way, this is a really cool tool in Poll Everywhere. It's called Brainstorm. And you have people write up a bunch of things, and then you can pull one out and then have the students up or down vote on it. So let's take a look at this question, and people up and down vote this one. To use AI during class to respond to a professor's discussion question. Who thinks that that's okay? Give it a thumbs up. Who thinks it's not okay? Give it a thumbs down. I think people are eagerly writing their own questions. This is great. I'm going to use this feedback to send out to everyone, and you might use these in your own conversations with students. These are ways that I haven't necessarily thought of, and especially since you are all on the front lines. Oh, it shows the numbers going down on the app but not on the screen. So let me pull that out again. Oh, you're right. How about that? So 4 people say it's okay. One person says it's not okay. I guess once I choose it, then it's okay. So 4 people say okay. One person says not okay. Oh, that's for the visuals. Let's go to the use AI during class to respond to a professor's discussion question. 9 people say not okay. I use this all the time when I'm talking to my son on the phone. He is in a PhD program in electrical engineering and physics, and I can't understand a damn word he says. So I will have AI open and I will type in what he says, and I'll come up with interesting questions so I can continue the conversation. So yes, it's probably not okay in class. Might not be bad when you're talking to your son or daughter when you don't have any idea what they're talking about. Let's take a look at some of the other ones. Have AI create some tricky, difficult questions to ask instructor in the classroom. Very interesting. So 2 people say it's okay. One person says not okay. Writing cover letters for job applications. One person says okay. Using AI to design figures, visuals for a presentation. 5 people say it's okay. One person says it's not okay. And I assume that that's really based on whether or not the figures and visuals were integral to the learning goals of that presentation. So again, if you don't care that the students are not using that as a learning goal to create their own thing, it might be perfectly acceptable to ask AI. So you can see how much fun this is to do. I'm going to share all of these questions with everyone afterwards, but let's go on to our exit poll before we leave. So do you think that you have a good way of having a productive conversation with students about AI in the classroom now that we have talked about this cool little red card, green card? And if you'd do me the favor of responding to that, then we can use this as a benchmark for whether we should add this to our repertoire of ways that we engage faculty members in fun ways sometimes, but in meaningful ways in talking about AI in the classroom. All right, so we've moved a bunch of people to the comfort zone, and we've moved a bunch of people to the launch pad, ready to learn and eager to implement. And I love that no one is in that stress center anymore. Like I said, it gives the students a voice. It gives you the power to talk about what you want, what you don't want. And it's not going to keep students from cheating, but at least it's going to allow you to explain to students what they gain by using AI in acceptable ways.
And Mike, and could I add, a lot of our research from last semester in the University Teaching and Learning Project pointed to the fact that different domains, different classes view the use of AI very differently. And this gives professors a chance to see where their students are at, because students might have a universal view of AI that's not specific to a class. So for instance, in that where we asked that question about generating graphics, if generating graphics are sort of an appendage to a project that you're having them work on, it might not be an issue for them to use AI if it's a secondary, if it's not a learning objective. Whereas if it's a class on graphic design, it's a core functionality, and the use of AI takes on a different connotation in that case.
And so here's my resources slide. We'll send this out to everyone who's attended today, but if you want to borrow this Poll Everywhere activity deck that you saw today, then you can log into Poll Everywhere and go to activities, shared with me, and then you can find that red card, green card, and you should be able to use all of those cards. Or if you want help thinking about building your own cards, we're always happy to help you consider how to use that. Original resources from Lloyd Reber, who gave me this idea of red card, green card. Lots of different interesting resources there at his tiny URL. We have our STLI Generative AI Teaching Resource page that I'm linking to. If you haven't used Poll Everywhere before and you think that this would be something cool, there's a link there to the William & Mary IT Poll Everywhere page. And the slideshow is available at tinyurl.com/redcarddeck. If people want to stick around and ask questions, Pablo and I will be here for the next half hour. If you need to take off and you can't stay, we really appreciate you being here, and we look forward to seeing you next time at Quick Bites.